Another episode of Cork in the North, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everyone who's clicked on this week, Thursday 6 o'clock. We really do appreciate it. Before we begin today, a few things I want to run past you. Not all of you have signed up to the Patreon yet, right? It's £3 a month for 3 extra episodes. You get discounts on merch and live tickets, right? You're getting this shit for free. You can pay £3. It's less than the price of coffee. Caramelat is $3.80. Right, so please do. This is the intro, by the way. Ian. Don't worry, the guys, they all know what this is about.
No, I got it.
Right. This is the merch. We've run out of T-shirts. The new batch is coming in, right? You can still buy these for Christmas. The Cork of the North mugs, right? So please do click on the links below on the bottom of the YouTube. Do appreciate all your support because we need money, right? We need money. See this table? 600 quid that. We bought that because of your money, right? So the more you spend, the better it gets. Okay, we've been able to afford 2 rugby players this week, ladies and gentlemen. 2 guys from Ulster Rugby, James Hume and Ian Madigan. Thanks very much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you.
I know James really well because we've played golf a good few times together, haven't we, James?
We have, yeah.
I played today. I won longest drive, 272
First thing you said to me when
the one everyone wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ian Madigan, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Madigan, playing for Ulster up here in Ulster, but also you've played for a good few teams as well. You've been over in Bristol, down over in France. You've been Leinster. Watched you in 2015 in the World Cup. You played in nearly every game. You played in that game. You came on in every game.
The only place I haven't been invited is out for a round of golf for you two boys.
Well, should we let him into the WhatsApp group? Okay,
so I'll get him in.
So big announcement this week in terms of the Irish rugby squad. Andy Farrell named what I think is a very, very strong squad, and I'm very excited about it. Ulster have a few lads represented this World Cup. We've got McCluskey, we've got Rob Herring, we've got Hendo, Ian Henderson. Hendo, like I've met him 3 times. I call him Hendo now. Me and Hendo. He's very tall, isn't he?
I hope that when people go for a nickname, but it's not the actual person's nickname.
Is that like? Hold on a second. Hold on. Is Ian Henderson?
Hendy.
Oh, it's Hendy. I call him Hendo.
Hendo.
So is it Hendy?
Yeah, Hendy.
It is Hendy.
Yeah, it's Hendy. Yeah.
Do you know what? Chris Henry's wife, Jade Henry, because I work with her every week. She always says it's Hendo.
Nah, I think it's Hendy. It's Hendy.
It's Hendy to us.
It's Hendy
for you, right?
Yeah.
Stuart McCluskey, Hendy, Rob Herring, and we've also got Tom O'Toole has made it.
Yeah.
So when you found out with the squad being announced yesterday, would you guys have like messaged them or anything like that? Like what's the kind of band? Are you in the group with like thumbs up, or what do you do? Do you, when you get into a squad like that, how do you guys react to it?
Well, yeah.
You just blocked them. You just kicked them out of the room.
Yeah, I left every group.
You're going to lose to Tonga. Fuck off. Is that what you're going to do?
No, I didn't mess them individually usually and just say congratulations.
And then in brackets, any tickets.
Yeah.
It's tough on the guys that missed out, like the likes of Jacob, who would have been very close. Even Tom Stewart, he's foreign player off the back of last year. They're the guys that you feel for. Obviously, the guys that get in, they'll get plenty of congratulatory texts, but it's tough when you miss out.
Yeah. Have you guys been in a position where you've missed out on squads for stuff?
Yeah, loads of times.
Yeah. How do you? Can you sense it coming?
Like even some simple stuff like a coach's body language towards you. You can be like, geez, maybe I'm not feeling the love here at the moment, or
walking down a corridor and they're not making eye contact with you, kind of stuff like that.
You're not in these
handcuffing you to a radiator, like
little mini meetings you're not getting invited to that you used to get invited to. That kind of stuff. Oh yeah, it's quite school, playground stuff.
It's very kind of like office bullying, not office bullying, but like it's sort of like. I'm out in the cold here. Like, I mean, I'm feeling that there's something happening.
No, look, we don't want bullying allegations coming out tomorrow. But
I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, but there's also like it's feeling the love. It's like, Jesus, I'm being asked my opinion here on some really strategic stuff. I'm feeling the love here. They're really valuing what I'm saying. And then suddenly you're kind of going, Jesus, there's a meeting going on over there. I was in that a few weeks ago. And why haven't I in it now? And you can kind of go, geez, maybe I'm a bit out of favour. So you can sense it, definitely.
So do you have to kind of like go into these camps when you're trying to get picked for a squad that you kind of go in, right, don't overthink it, don't overthink all these meetings, all this body language stuff, just focus on the training, doing the best that I can do? Or is there the fellas that you've played with now or in the past that you've gone, they can't cope with this shit at all because they want it so much, they're over-analysing everything?
The first time I went into camp anyway, it was a completely different level. Like I had to step up pretty much everything more than I expected I had to, in terms of
Did you go in under Joe Smith?
No, I was the summer of 2021, so he had left.
So you went to Andy Farrell,
Andy Farrell, and it was just everything was another level up. Video analysis, training, extras, gym, everything was just like you had to be so honed in. So it was like almost like mentally fatiguing more than anything.
Brilliant. And when you went into the Irish setup, were you just a bit like going, oh fuck, I thought I was smashing it.
I thought I was
and
good.
I'm not even close yet.
Yeah. I got a couple of wake up calls like when I first went in, but I still loved it. Like,
give me an example of something that kind of shocked you.
Oh, there was like one drill we were doing, and I just basically it's a shape we run, and I was out the back, and he made me repeat it 4 times, and I thought I was doing it right every time, and he was just like, nope.
The Spax coach.
Yeah, no, it's his Faz. He was like, nope, go back. And I was like, I could have sworn I was doing that right every time, and then he'd watch it back in video, and I wasn't doing it right. But that's the type of thing that like you wouldn't really pick up on unless you're getting like proper hammered it.
So I've got a feeling that these guys going into the World Cup now, they're so honed. Like,
yeah.
Did you watch the Samoa game?
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't, I'll say overall the best performance, but terrible conditions and stuff, but I think what I like about the Ireland squad, and I'm a big rugby guy, like, and I've been to so many matches and stuff, is that it's not going to be perfect all the time, but the job gets done. Kind of way. It's the mentality is very, very. Because you see a difference in some of the players' mentalities today than when you were in the World Cup in 2015. Like, can you see, like, you know, like you got Henderson, McCluskey, and all them? Are you kind of being like, oh wow, they're thinking a bit differently than I was back in 2015?
Yeah, I definitely think we've got more ways to win than we did in 2015.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, like when I remember going to the World Cup in 2015, and like I was caught up in the conversation of if Johnny gets injured, we're in big trouble. If such and such gets injured, there's probably a list of like 7 or 8 names that you'd say if these guys get injured, we're in trouble. And ultimately, we actually were. You know, when Paulie got injured and Sean O'Brien was unavailable. But I find this time around that list is a lot shorter. You know, it's maybe Tig, maybe Gary, but it's nothing as catastrophic as it was back in 2015. If those guys did get injured, our strength and depth is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, like I actually looked at the squad when it was announced. I actually watched it live on the RTE radio day with this because I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
I actually just went, oh, I'd probably start Lockman there the first game against Romania. I'd probably, give him a run out against Tonga as well. I think, I in my head I was like, Johnny will probably get 60 against Romania because he's not played for a bit. Then I'd probably get 60 against Tonga because he's not played for a bit. But see my point, like in my head I was like, we don't need him for the full 80. Like, see the difference? You see how I think the confidence of an Irish rugby fan is in that squad. Like you got your Keith Earls on one side, and Keith's 35, 36 now. He just had his 100 cap, and you kind of go like, I totally trust Keith for 80 minutes, no problem. Whereas before, like in 2015, when Paulie did that was his last ever game, wasn't it? When he did that, and I remember like Chris Henry coming on, Chris talking to Chris about it and stuff. You kind of say to yourself, "Oh Jesus!" Like we're down 2 or 3 here. This could go anyway. Whereas now it's like we're down 2 and 3. Faz seems to be a bit like, that's fine.
Yeah.
You kind of like him. I think he likes the chaos. He likes the fact that he's never full strength.
That's true.
That'd be right.
All those summer, like with the summer one we were in, the Madigan Cup, there was 9 new caps, and then there's like pretty much every campaign there's probably another 2 or 3 new caps. So I don't know the numbers of how many new players have been capped over the past few years, but I'd say it's pretty high. I'd say it's very high.
Yeah.
So you're getting exposure quickly, which means when it comes to crunch time, like Jack Harley stepped up, like Kieran Frawley stepped up when they've had to as well at 10. It's impressive when they step in because they just look like they haven't missed a jump at all.
It's very exciting though, isn't it?
It is.
I did a thing last night where I kind of complained about the lack of people that are actually talking about Ireland for this World Cup. Because I remember back in the Six Nations, they were like, oh, you can't see past France. I was like, you fucking can. we looked at them, we went past them, and we won it, right? Now they're going, you can't see France on home soil in this World Cup. You can't see. Well, go fuck yourself, right? England went to Australia and won the World Cup in Australia against Australia in the final, right? Everyone's like, look at what South Africa did against New Zealand. Right? We fucking did that to both of them. Like, my point is, no one is talking about us. Is that a good thing? Or, like, did you feel pressure in 2015 to be a semi-final country? Did you actually go into it? No, we'd never come back a quarter-final. Like, because this thing about us, like, we can do the Six Nations.
I don't think this team feels the pressure about the semi-final.
Yeah.
The only pressure this team feels is about winning it. You know,
really?
We're number 1 in the world. We've had an unbelievable couple of years. The squad is primed, ready to go. Our age profile is perfect. You look at the other countries that are competing in it, they're not necessarily primed for this. You know, Australia, England, Wales, they've been poor over the last couple of years. Our side of the draw is definitely stacked, but, you know, my read on it is that I think France will beat New Zealand the first game. I think we'll win our group. I think we'll beat New Zealand in the quarters. And
Do you know
I
what
think
I
we'll make a
think?
final.
Yeah.
Oh, I think what we should do now, right, is play the second team against South Africa and lose to them, and we get France in the quarters and then batter them.
I like see how it all looks in your head. Like everyone's gonna. Like,
What I think we should do is
lose to Tom. That's like World Cup mania. People going, you know what? That's a good idea.
You're like, Keane Healy, he's not fit, but come back for this one. Come back
Make
for
the
this.
Tonga game. What should we do for that? You know?
James, how obviously 2015 you played in it, but James, how do you feel about this World Cup? Because obviously I was watching when you went down to New Zealand and you got injured against the Maori All Blacks, and I'll be honest with you, I actually was thinking about this today when I was on the 5th hole at Balmoral. I'm going to say this to James, right? Going out to New Zealand, part of that squad, you must be like, this is fucking Johnny Big Balls there, like this is big time stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go and you get injured. I remember you put a post up on Instagram and you were on your own in the airport in New Zealand coming back. I actually felt for you, mate. I actually was like going, oh. I was like, in myself, number one, have they sent you home? Number two, do you have to go home? Or did you want to come? Like, when you get injured, obviously you're gutted, right? And I know you're out for a bit of time, right?
Yeah.
But do they send you home?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Well, I got injured on the Tuesday, got a scan the Wednesday and went home on the Sunday.
So what? Like,
So I wanted to stay to watch the first test, like the team were playing in, and then I flew home the next day.
but could you have stayed for the 3-4 weeks?
I would have paid for it. I would have had to pay for it, I reckon.
Are you actually serious?
Oh, well, like, I mean...
Does Fast come up and go, hey, mate, any chance you can...
Well, I also needed surgery as well, so...
Yeah.
I think they kind of get it done.
Yeah, the dynamic is different. When you're not in, you're out. Like, you know, you can't do the training. You're just... You end up being like a bit of a spare tool hanging around.
Yeah.
You know, and you also want to get home. You've only have 4 weeks holidays. If you decide to stay, you'll only end up having probably 2 weeks holidays.
Yeah.
You're kind of ready to move on.
Yeah.
I also think as well, if it was like, since it was me, like I was young enough, like fresh enough in the squad, whereas if Sexton, Furlong, like Hendy or something like that got injured, I reckon they would maybe have stayed out and been with the squad for leadership stuff. But
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
but
agree
I
with
needed
that.
surgery. I'd just be hanging about if it was there. So I just went home that Sunday. But honest to God, that trip home was actually quite peaceful for some reason. Even though it's a 17-hour flight from 17 hours from Auckland to Dubai, and then
Did they fly your business?
yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was great. Like, it was great.
Imagine being in the economy. How come you're not here? Fucking injured, mate. Insurance haven't paid out, haven't they? Fucking hell. Ian, tell me, you know when you kind of leave a squad or come out something, you've started at Leinster, then you went to France, then you went to Bristol and stuff like that. When you leave a club, are you out of the WhatsApp group straight away? Are you gone? Like how? Like you can play with fellas for a year, 2, 3 years. Really get to know them. Coffees, girlfriends, partners, going for dinners. You know, calling over to the house in the evening, going through clips together and stuff like that. The minute you move, like, is it just like, well, you were 2 years of my life and I probably won't ever see you again, or like, have you still got relationships with fellas in your previous clubs?
Yeah, no, there is, but like you've 50 guys in your team, 40 to 50 depending on the size of the squad. You know, within that, while you're playing in the team, you're probably good friends with maybe 10 of them. You know, and unfortunately, over time, that probably filters down to maybe 5 or 6. You know, you don't believe it at the time. Like if you said to me when I was leaving Leinster, oh, you'll probably only be really good friends with 5 or 6 guys. You know, I'd be like, no way, it's going to be 20.
Yeah, we're going to meet up every couple of weeks.
Tight schedule.
You move to another club and they're your priority, and you have your core group of friends that you're friends with from school that you're obviously going to be investing time with, and that is one big flaw with rugby, because you're very tight as a group and you're brought together to play for your club. But when that ends, what is bringing you all together from these different groups? So it's not like you went to school together and that's going to draw you back in. So it is, and the WhatsApp group when you do exit it yourself, or you get
brutal,
you get booted out. That is the realisation of that's
who's the fucking admin there? Who's the
chapter
admin? Who's the admin
closed.
of your WhatsApp group now? Who's the admin?
Shanners.
Shanner's admin, is he?
Also,
I think the way to do it now is you walk yourself before you're booted.
walk your way out.
Send a message in.
Send a message.
Lads,
Thanks,
absolutely
guys.
love you.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah.
But you shit. I'm going somewhere for money.
If you could
Adios.
revolute me some cash, I'm really tight.
Ian, have you got family living in Manchester?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen to this, right? So I was when I found out when to James, I said, oh, come on, I'd love to get someone else on. But so I was at the Comedy Store in Manchester one night, right? And this was about 2016, 2017, and I did the show, and it was a really good show. It's about maybe, I don't know if you've ever been to it, the Comedy Store in Deansgate,
No,
Manchester, right?
no.
So it's about 400 seats.
Love
right?
Manchester though.
So we're down Deansgate. I used to live in Manchester, right, for a few years, and so I finished the show anyway, and actually this fella comes up to me and he goes, oh mate, he's Mank, I think it was Mank, he was like,
Yeah.
and he goes, oh mate, you're really funny, really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, nice to talk to you. Oh, my dad's Irish. And I was like, I think it was his dad or his mum. Yeah, it was his dad,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, oh yeah, he wants to talk to you. No, but I had rugby jokes in my set.
Okay.
And it was during the Six Nations.
Okay.
So I used to do this routine about getting stopped and getting penalty points in England. And I used to say to the police officer, no, you keep the points now. I won't, you need them for the Six Nations. I used to do all this kind of stuff, right? But I used to only be able to do those jokes from February to the end of March because the Six Nations was over. Right? So I was doing these jokes because I think Ireland had played Italy that day, or something had happened that day. There was a rugby team anyway, right? And come over to this fella, and this guy introduced me, Irish fella. I was like, hello, nice to meet you. He goes, oh, really thought you were really funny. He goes, you like the rugby? Yeah. He goes, my nephew's Ian Madigan. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, right. And he's in Warrington. He lives in.
Yeah.
There you go, right? So I was like, oh, right, Ian Madigan. Yeah, I said, oh, Ian's great. I said, obviously, I've seen you play a few times, like and stuff. I've been to loads of Six Nations matches, and he was like, yeah, my nephew's Ian Madigan. I was like, oh, brilliant. I said, yeah, he did great in the World Cup, didn't he? You know, because obviously, you know, when was it the Italy game you came on?
French game.
Yeah. You were a bit emotional towards it.
Yeah, small bit.
Like, it was brilliant, right? I said to him, he was great passion. I said, and it was just after the World Cup, and I said, oh, it must have been gutted coming out of the World Cup. And this is then where me and your uncle had a heated debate, right? This is what happened. Chris Henry told me something, and I kind of just said, well, yeah, because after the World Cup when they got beat by Argentina, I know a few of them fucked off to Dubai. A few of the players went off to Dubai, right? I don't know who they were. Like I said, they went over, and then I was talking to Chris, and Chris was saying like it wasn't for a good few weeks that the fucking realization like what happened. You know, like it might take a while to sink in. You're in the bubble for a long time, and you go away on holiday, the girlfriends and the wives all go, and you kind of go there and you have a few drinks, you kind of like watching the mirror or whatever, and you don't really give a shit. And next thing you know, you come home, you're like, oh fuck, just playing the World Cup. What the fuck? And I was trying to say to your uncle, I was like, it's like sometimes when the players finish, they're in such a bubble. It's like they went on holiday, didn't really give a shit. The way I said it, I think he took umbrage with it. I was like, they didn't really give a shit about it because they're in such a bubble. But it wasn't until Chris told me a couple of weeks afterwards, the actual realization, like the depression kicks in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and you look back and you go, oh, could have done this and we should have done that and all this kind of stuff. And then your uncle said to me, he goes, no, Ian really cares. Ian was very upset. I'm not saying he wasn't upset. I'm not saying Ian wasn't. I saw him cry. Right? Your uncle proper fucking went for me. He's like,
that sounds like him.
He goes, no. He goes, Ian takes his rugby very seriously. I said, I'm not saying he takes his rugby very seriously. What I'm trying to say to you is that a lot of the players went to Dubai and had a bit of crack, but one of the players told me it didn't dawn on them how big what had happened for a couple of weeks because they're in such a bubble. They're in camp, they lose, they get the fuck out of there. Next thing you know, they're with other players and their girlfriends in a country where there's no Irish fans. And it's not like reality to them. No. And he was like, no, but Ian was really upset about it. I goes, I'm not saying he fucking. And then 2 minutes later, I was like, anyway, did you enjoy the gig? Yeah, but Ian, I was talking to Ian. I said, if I ever meet Ian Madigan, me and him were like in a bar, and like your cousin, young English fella, was standing there, was like, oh, right, man. I was like, no, Ian's a great player. He was fucking mad. Yeah. But I went at him for about 20 minutes.
That's
over
good,
time.
like, you know what I mean? That's good.
It's so true that when you're like in the process of the World Cup, you actually don't realise how big it is.
Yeah, that was my point. That was kind of my point.
It's 100% true. Yeah. But yeah, like as Chris touched on there, like I still get it now. Oh God, if only Robbie had given that pass, or if only I'd done this, or whatever. Like you still get those.
You can't
moments.
live like that though.
No, I know, but like.
It's hard
that's
not to.
No, that's what sport gives you know.
I was in a coffee shop in Hollywood, right? Rob Herring was sitting in front of me on his iPad, right, going through plays from. No, I didn't know Rob. But I was sitting behind him, right? And I was just about to I was like, I'm not going to be one of these fuckers. I'm about to text you and be like, Rob's looking at his knock-ons. Or I was going
to like. He's ever gone through the plays.
And do you know what surprised me? I'm like,
no way. Him?
Do you know what? Because I said it to him afterwards. I met him at the gig. I said it to him afterwards, and he was there. He was watching. He was sitting at a table in a coffee shop, lad. I don't know who you'd played, Benetton, I don't know, some fucking game, right? Whatever, one of the 6 competitions you're in, right? And he was like this, and he had this big fucking burger, right? And he was just like that. and I was just like, if Andy Farrell could see this now, this is not on some system, like, do you know what I mean?
It's just burger dripping all
It's
over
just burger, it's just like,
burger for breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you go onto his Instagram and goes, mate, you weren't that healthy today. You were not that fucking healthy today, herring. Anyway, well done in the squad, and hope you play a good few games. Now, I want to ask you a bit about, so your guys are in very different stages of your careers. If you've you're up here in Ulster last season. How was your first season with Ulster last year? How did it go?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, probably the closest thing that I would have had to what I had in Leinster. And when I left Leinster, I definitely thought that every club was going to be very similar
to like Leinster.
Yeah, and it's not. They're very different. France was extremely different. England was a small bit closer, but again, I never really got that kind of camaraderie that I had in Leinster, which is homegrown. You went to school with these guys. You played underage with them. It's your boyhood club.
But you played Championship in England, didn't you?
Yeah, I played Championship and then played 2 years in the Premiership. And look, we came together. It was a great squad. I really enjoyed the time over there. But coming here kind of made me almost realise what I'd missed in Leinster.
Yeah.
And this squad here is just incredibly tight. And they've, aside from obviously training really hard and doing our best to win, we've a lot of fun along the way. And that's what I've really enjoyed.
Well, a lot of the lads that I've met from Ulster, like I've met them at gigs or I've met them golf days, or I did a gig at Ulster Rugby when the Tommy Bowe incident happened that made television. Do you remember? I apologise to him and tell you, like, when I rang Tommy.
Oh, you told me.
I was doing this whole thing about Tommy Bowe had been retired 2 years. I was like, "Hi, I'm Tommy Bowe. I've retired, but I'm still here. Buy my shoes." I was doing all this kind of thing, right? And I was doing all this kind of stuff with him, and I rang him on stage, and he slammed the phone down, right? And Chris Henry got up to grab the phone, and I said, "Oh, Chris, don't move. You'll probably get injured." Right? I was doing all. I was going for the fucking. I said to Rory Best. At one point I said, "Where's Rory Best?" "Oh, it's great to see you, Rory. It's great that you turned up tonight because you didn't turn up at the last Rugby World Cup, did you?" Like, I was fucking hammering them all, right? I was having a great time with them all. Right? Oh, I was having a great time. And then when I went Ireland Day with Tommy, I was like, "Tommy, I just want to apologise. We did this whole thing about it, right?" I saw him the other day, actually. He's coming on soon, but. What I wanted to say to you was it's kind of strange, right? Because you're obviously from down south, right? And I'm from Cork as well. And James, obviously, you're from up here. One thing I like to always ask people, especially if you're not from this part of the island, right? Coming up here to the Northern Ireland, as I did a gig in the Glenone on Friday night in West Belfast, first ever time, and I said Northern Ireland, and some guy, what place is that? Doesn't exist, mate. It's the North of Ireland. I said, "Oh shit, sorry." Now, Ian, talk to me. As a guy coming from the south, and when you go home, because when I moved here, some people, and you might not know this, James, because obviously up here it's kind of different, but how the south kind of like view the north. I don't want to get overly political, but some people said to me, "What the fuck are you doing up there? They're mad bastards." Like all you hear in the news is A, B, C, D, and if that we grew up with listening to. How have you found it being up here compared to what you thought it was, what you heard it was? Now that you're up here, you're a bit like, this is actually like a bit of a secret gem, like, you know what I mean? Like, or is it kind of someplace you could say, "You know, I could actually stay here"?
Yeah, and I will stay here.
Yeah.
And when I say that to people, down in Dublin, they're, you're met with shock.
Yeah, I get that as well.
And I fell into the trap for a while of trying to explain why I wanted to stay here and live here, and that wasn't doing me no favours.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like I had to justify it. Whereas now I just say, "No, I'm staying in Belfast. We love it there."
Yeah.
And we have loved it here. Like the friendships we've developed here. We live off the Lisbon Road. We love going out to the coffee shops, the restaurants. It's an easy spin down to Dublin if you do need to go back. The golf courses here are the best in the world. Meeting guys like James, and it was, when I do finish up, it'll be the first time that I don't have to move, and that's when you decide to stay where you want to stay.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, like even like the historical stuff that's there, and I'm comfortable talking about it. But I can say that I've never had any issues here.
There you go, neither have I.
Unintentionally, I've put myself in some awkward situations.
What has he done? Come on, I love it. I love it when the Southerners fuck up, like, because I fucked up. I've messed up.
We had a social in. What was the prison called? Crumlin Road Jail.
Good spot.
We did an overnight stay
in the cells.
In the cells.
Yeah.
So before Maz was like,
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
basically,
let's meet at the Diamond Jubilee
we were
in the
dividing
Shankill. And no one, I was the only one from Belfast there, and it was like Frank Brasser around, who's
Yeah, it happened. It was a coincidence. There was a lot of people from like down south,
all Southerners who were with us,
or foreigners,
or
like
foreigners who were
Aussies
with us.
So I was kind of like the leader of our mini group, divided into 4 different mini groups, and I was like, right lads, we're meeting at the Crumlin jail at 6:30. We finished training at 4. The leader of each group, just go. You can go get a bite to eat or have a few pints. It was kind of the end of pre-season, so they were like rewarding us with a few drinks or whatever, and bite to eat. And I was on maps, trying to find the nearest pub to Crumlin Jail. And there's very little pubs.
Pre-drinks, basically.
Yeah, exactly. A little settler.
Couple of settlers. Yeah.
And I'm on the maps doing the whirling the finger and find this pub, Diamond Jubilee. Sounds like a lovely establishment.
This is where Jubilee not fucking give it away.
So I said to the lads, right, we'll meet here. Pop it into the WhatsApp group. We'll meet here at 4:30. So I rocked up 4:45, and the lads are all standing outside the pub. I'm like, what? Why aren't they inside? Now look, the Union Jacks were draped outside the windows. There was a few people having cigarettes outside wearing Rangers jerseys. And I was like, I'm not sure if this is the best establishment for us to be going. I said, right, decision to make here. Either I basically pussy out and get the lads to go somewhere else, or just march on in and treat it as normal. So anyway, went with the latter, marched on in, and it was a bit tense when we first arrived in, purely because we hadn't been seen there before, and like.
You're big lads as well.
The first drink, the order was like, can I get a pint of Guinness? And some guys went, who was that? Over by the snooker table, like, popped out. What was that up there?
Oh, but yeah. So
tenants. That's what you're getting tenants.
Ordered the 10 pints of Guinness, and barman's like, "I'm not gonna have any trouble off you lads, are we?" And I was like, "Oh god,
no,
I was like, not me personally."
Oh dear.
But anyway, so assure him that there's going to be no issues, and then we sit down, and we could sense there's a few eyeballs on us or whatever. And then as the locals were going to the bathroom, they'd kind of dip in, have a few words. Where he's from, we told him we were playing for Ulster Rugby, and they'd ask a few questions about that. Generally, really friendly. But like fast forward an hour and a half later. All the locals were sitting in a circle with us.
There you go.
Drinking, buying us shots. And it was honestly, it was a kind of realisation for me that the north of Ireland has really moved on.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff's all in the past now.
Yeah.
And look, you're always going to get 1% that's going to cause a bit of trouble. You get the same 1% causing trouble down in Dublin.
Yeah, but you've actually just given a perfect example of you inadvertently did something there, which was you made an effort. Yeah. You went outside the place that you naively, maybe, if you had known at the time, you're like, oh, fuck it, stay away from there. But actually, you kind of went in, we'll just meet here. And then when you arrived, you went, oh, shit, it didn't click.
Yeah.
But instead of you turning away, you actually went in and made the effort.
Yeah.
And when you made that effort, they made that effort back.
Big time.
And I think that was that's actually like a very good example of it's a lot of the time, like people think like where I live out by East, and I live in a very British area. Like, like we've had the UVF flags and all that taken down and stuff like that. And one of my neighbours was like, what are you doing up here? And I went, and I had a joke, I'm actually part of the Sinn Féin relocation scheme, right? So Mary Lou just picks us up and puts us in, right? And he
sprinkles us around.
Sprinkles us around. So when the vote happens, you're fucked. Right? That's a joke. Right? Don't at me. Right? And he thought it was hilarious, right? And I was like, he would look at me. My next door neighbour now, probably the most protective man of me. Like, he loves me. Like, he comes from, obviously, the British background, but he comes in, does jobs for me. He's my first 12th of July, because obviously they go near me. Come in, just let you know what happens around here. Hope you're okay with it. This is what's going to happen. It's not too messy. A lot of people leave, obviously, but just let you know, nothing will come in around here for you. Just want to make sure you're all cool and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I actually believe a lot of people, and I don't know about this from you, James, as well as like when you go down south, how do you feel you're taken, like when you go to Dublin or Cork or Galway and stuff, but actually when you actually talk,
Yeah.
Very little differences.
Yeah.
Do you know,
I really
you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel when you go down?
I have literally no opinion. I've never had a
but that's really good
with
though.
anyone that I've been like,
yeah.
I'm being like, the piss taken out of me or anything, or not welcomed. That's never happened to me, so that's actually good.
So when you go down there, you just feel as normal as anyone else, don't you?
Yeah, maybe it's just because I'm a bit like. I don't really pay attention to it, so maybe
you don't watch the news. Like, do you ring in Stephen Nolan? You'll be ringing in Stephen Nolan. I was on a Free Staters podcast. Do you know what I mean? I felt violated, Stephen. But when your family come up, Ian, what did they think of it? Did your family come up much to see you?
Yeah, my dad actually used to work. He worked for Ulster Bank, so he used to come up and work out of the Belfast office a bit. So he knows Belfast well. He enjoys coming up here. You know, always fills the boot up with a load of wine and heads back down happy out because he doesn't have to pay the tax that you have to pay inside. So.
Yeah, it's great.
I cut that.
And the free healthcare and the free.
Comes up, gets his teeth done. Heads down.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we go to Newry, you know. Like, my mum's family live in Dundalk, and they get all their dentists are in Newry. But that's the beauty about this island, though, isn't it? Like,
it's smart.
Fucking
Play the
mad,
system.
isn't it? Right now, Ian, I follow you on Instagram, and I see you've got a new business, new venture with your wife. No, is your wife from Offaly?
No, she's from Kildare.
Oh, my apologies.
Just outside
My apologies. For those who don't know, Offaly, Kildare, very, very different. Like, Kildare is very nice. It's got clothes. It's got discounted polo, Ralph Lauren, Offaly, Narnia. So I do apologise about that, right? So you and your wife now are into the drugs. Are you snorting or injecting? How is it working?
Oh, God.
What's it called?
We're just selling dreams.
What's it? The OCD oil, the GDF oil, the fucking B&Q oil, the D... What are you selling? Because I see it, and I'll talk to you about it, because I actually have an example of how... Because this is all legal stuff, by the way, just so you know. Right? So what is it you're kind of doing? Because you launched it, what, 4 or 5 months ago?
We relaunched about 5 months ago.
I follow you every day.
Appreciate that.
In person.
But
I live on the Lisbon Road now. Sorry, go on.
No, so CBD oil, it's from the cannabis plant, but it contains none of the hallucinogenics, which is
the best bit.
Yeah. So THC is what makes you hallucinate or gives you that high. CBD is more designed to help you sleep, reduce your anxiety, inflammation, and it is great for that. Like for me, like at the height of my career, when I was carrying a few injuries, you'd rely heavily on anti-inflammatories, pain relief, sleeping tablets at times. And look, that doesn't have longevity to it. And when CBD was legalised for athletes, gave it a go, and it kind of weaned me off the kind of the synthetic medication, and I haven't looked back since, and trying to share that with other people now. And
are you integrating that? Is this something that can go into Ulster, that the players allowed to use this?
Like we're all lab tested, and look, it's fine now. The issue is around our nutritionists, for example. They have to protect themselves. So if it's not something that they can stand over with WADA and third-party batch testing, or if it's not a sponsored supplement of the club, then it makes it more difficult for them to recommend. But a good chunk of the players will be using it.
Yeah.
Well, how are you getting on with it, James?
It's good, look. Yeah,
I can see the big change in this inside. Very relaxed, like
fresher skin. Yeah.
Your girlfriend seems more chilled out around you. Well, James doesn't know if he's playing at the weekend. He's walking around just smashing up the kitchen. Fuck my class. Do you know what I mean?
I do that anyway.
So Ian, when I knew you were kind of doing that stuff, so my mother, God rest her, she passed away 4 years ago on Saturday, and she died of cancer, right? Now, we tried everything to keep her alive, and I mean everything to keep her alive. She got tumours in her spine, then it went into her lungs and stuff like that. And somebody said to us, "Because have you tried like the old magic stuff, like And we were like, "Where do you get it?" They were like, "Over the border." Right, so my mum got some drops. You put it on your tongue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little drop, because we were, I mean, it's tricky. Like, she was mad up for trying everything. Yeah. She got such a bad diagnosis, right? So we got some drops for her, like CBD oil and stuff like that, to try and help her with her stress and her anxiety, knowing that she'd been given a end of life diagnosis and stuff. My mother now was a psychiatrist, and she's straight, like if she got a parking ticket now, she wouldn't sleep because of the shame. Right? You know, the kind of way, like, the shame. My mum got caught speeding once. She couldn't get through to Joe Duffy quick enough, like, right? Like, she'd be ringing him, I was 38 and 36 and 30, and it's not me. You know, right? It's that kind of woman, right?
It was very windy.
I remember we gave her some of the drops, right? And we got the stuff down, and we said, Ma, open your mouth there now, you know, and you put a drop on the tongue like a chair. I remember one day, towards the kind of end of her life, God love her, she was kind of into Padre Pio a bit, you know, and I remember one day she had rosary beads. She was sitting on the chair, and her you know, she was sitting on the chair, she was at the rosary beads, and she just turned to me, Andrew, where's my fucking cannabis? Right? And it was just like a sentence I never thought I would ever hear from me mother. Do you know that kind of thing? This hose and rosary beads. Goes, where's the fucking cannabis? Right? And I remember just laughing so much, right? Just thinking to myself, this woman, if she didn't have this diagnosis, if you said that word in the house, do you know what I mean? But I think, like, you know, it helped her.
Okay.
I think this is an industry that's really growing, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, it has massive growth potential, and like you can see now, like I was over in Toronto earlier in the summer, Boston, they've both legalised THC. So, you know, I don't think Ireland's close to doing it, but it's probably something we'll see in the next 5 or 10 years.
And is there people lobbying for this?
Yeah, there is. Are
you involved in these people? Are you communicating?
No, it's it'd be above my head is probably the easiest way to explain it. There's a lot to it. We'll be well positioned if it does happen, but yeah, look, the way it generally works, it will be allowed medically, so it'll be prescribed by a doctor. Yeah, that's how it's gone in Canada and some of the states. Within the states,
it's supposed to be very good for people with like epilepsy and fits and all that kind of stuff. Isn't
it? Like we generally try and avoid that kind of like exactly that, you know, epilepsy or cancer patients, because they're taking other medications, and we can't be seen to be, you know, adding to their stack of medications. And then if they mix, you know, if they had an unfortunate mix and then suddenly it was put down to the CBD or whatever, you don't want to be liable for that. So we'd always say to consult your doctor, and unfortunately there's not many doctors in Ireland that would stand over taking CBD, because it's a novel food and there hasn't been enough studies on it for them to put their neck on the line.
I feel like the perception of it as well, like people think that when they take squirts, like, isn't it 3 squirts? Yeah, 3 squirts on the tongue. They feel like when it hits you, you're going to be like, it's not though. It's like,
I take it before playing and everything.
Yeah, it's like real behind. It's like
That's probably why I'm so relaxed.
Who's getting
firing the ball around?
Oh, can I not throw it forward? Oh, whoopsie me! Whoopsie me! Whoopsie me! Oh, you look good in those shorts.
Oh God!
Do you know what I mean? Where's James Hume? He's getting a massage. Where's Madigan? He's in the toilet with the door closed. See, I'm using this heroin, right? See, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Do you ever use this?
Bespoke health pot? No.
Yeah. So
the tea bags.
One of the best things I've ever had done for my health recently, now we've talked about this on the podcast before, is, and I apologise for bringing it up again, even though we are sponsored by them in Nuri's. I've had colonics done. Colonic irrigation.
Okay.
The tubes up the arse.
Yeah.
And they clean you out.
Congratulations.
And I can tell you something, one of the best things I've ever had done.
Really?
Oh, I am telling you, I have never had so much energy, sleep. What are you laughing at, James? What are you laughing at now? Coming in here with your fucking big old
energy, so much energy.
It takes out all the toxins, mate.
Sorry, I thought during and when it was up, you had so much energy.
That was a bit of a fad maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Haven't heard a whole lot of it since.
No, I'm telling you now. I went down to Nuri in a Angel. They sponsored us, right? You go in, you get your stomach cleaned, they stick the tube up, but a bit of as you can do it yourself, or she does it, whatever way. I'm an adult. She's seen it all before, right? No, she did.
Yeah, she did.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. She can do it again. So anyway, my point is this: is that I've done it, and 3 sessions in, 4 gallons of hot water go into your stomach. First session, just clean you out. Second session starts to massage the stomach. Then got rid of it. Literally was all black coming out.
Really?
And there was years of bad food that wasn't processed, all yeast, everything, right? And I remember one day she said to me, Andrew, this is phenomenal. Like, and you literally sit there for an hour and you just go to the toilet, right? And she said to me, you're going to be in pain tonight now because your body's like had a bit of trauma, right? That night, man, my stomach was so much pain, but I slept the best I've ever slept, and I woke up the following day. My skin, I used to crave chocolate every day. I haven't eaten chocolate for 6 months. Don't crave sugar anymore. Because I've got rid of it all. Got rid of all the toxins.
Yeah, one though.
Had 3 sessions done. The 2 Johnnies had it done recently. I don't know if you listened to the podcast. They went and had it done, right? I know a load of people that people who I work with in the radio in the mornings and stuff. They've all had it done, and they come out and go. You can just see the difference in the skin. Now, just you're getting rid of good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. So there's pros and cons to like all that kind of stuff. Like, but I'm telling you, just even the way I approach food now. Because, like, I used to just be a sucker for dark evening, pissing rain. Oh, let's get Chinese delivered there, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's like, right, what am I cooking?
Yeah. Fair.
I want to, and it's but small things, mindsets. I take my probiotics there, my gut health stuff, my little bits in my drinks and stuff like that.
Is that like dissolvable
in
water? Or what is it?
I've got like. So I was telling you earlier before the show, the last time I performed at the Edinburgh Festival, I lost an organ, lost my gallbladder, right?
Lost the gallbladder in the fridge.
Because I was drinking for a whole month, right? He went over for one day drinking last week to watch a fucking DJ. Then you're right. But my point is, like, so I don't process fat the same as some people. So if I had 3 pints of Heineken now, right? If I sat here now and had 3 pints of Guinness or Coors Light or whatever, right, in the pub on a Saturday night, I'm like, right, in this pub on Saturday, I'm going to have a pint. Okay, where's the toilet? There's a toilet, right? Okay. Once I know there's a toilet, I'll drink that pint. I'll have the crack like everybody else, and have a good laugh. But that will have to pass very fast.
Oh wow!
So, my stomach was just riddled with, it's really bad. Went and had that done. Totally swear by it. No, but when I say this to people, like you might say to your stuff, it's like people are, oh, I'm not touching that. Oh, fuck that. That's drugs, cannabis, police, prison. Fucking Mexican gang lords, all that kind of stuff. Like, they don't see it that it's fucking hashtag live your best life, like, you know what I mean, legal stuff. Is this the thing that's gonna, when you stop playing rugby, that you're gonna move into full time?
Yeah, we'd love to build out a kind of a suite of wellness products. You can see even the likes of mushrooms now is something that's become mainstream, and the health benefits that has. Ashwagandha, lion's mane. You'd love to be like a kind of centre for that, and be the place to go for wellness products that aren't necessarily mainstream.
Right. And James, I know you've got a long rugby career still ahead of you, because you're only, 26?
24.
24, fuck me. You weren't even alive for 9/11, were you? Were you alive for 9/11?
The year was 9/11?
2001?
No, 98, yeah.
98 you were born?
I was 3.
So what World Cup was that? 94 was America, 98
2003 was that Australia one, was
99
was in...
I was at the 1995 Rugby World Cup. That's how old I am, like. I'm 41.
Yeah.
Right. James, when you finish rugby, are you going to go into the drugs that Ian's gone into the deal?
Well, Mazu said he has another job lined up for me as a salesman at some stage. So absolutely, I might.
That guy can sell.
Yeah, I can sell. I can sell you fucking anything.
What do you can't sell is your golf swing, though. we played in Clanby, right? I took him and to the lad. You
mentioned Greg and Gus.
Greg and Gus out, right? And Gus, I'm not going to lie, he's just off the fringe. And he's lobbing it up in the air down. I'm like, just close the face, mate, and just
he's a show off.
Put the fucking club on the back leg, get a 56, close it, little bump and run, mate. He's doing flop shops off the fucking green. I'm looking, I'm not saying it.
He would spot the weirdest stuff though. He'd be like, nah, there was a pitch mark on the green. I had to pop it over,
What's your play off?
9.
You play off 9. I'm 9.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So we turn up, right? Andrew, the manager of Clandy, came out to take a picture of us at the first tee, right? And he goes, Andrew's scratch golf for like kind of Irish amateur, blah blah blah. He comes out, he goes, oh, I'll stay and I'll watch this all, right? I hit one down the fairway a little bit to the right, but found it, no problem, right?
Greg bombed a drive, one of the best drives I've seen.
Unreal.
Unbelievable
drive, right? And then you hit a shot and you topped it.
I sliced one.
You sliced it and you lost it.
It
was in the housing estate. Right? It was in the housing estate.
Sirens going off.
Horrible stuff. Right. And then I topped the next one.
And then you topped the next one.
And it was right in front of me. Like. And then Gus steps up, slices, loses, tops right in front of me.
And then Andrew there just went to this, well, enjoy the round. No, the best thing about it was the 18th hole. Tell him what happened on the 18th.
Greg.
Oh my God, you're not gonna believe this.
Greg was about, I'd say, 70 yards out, and he hit probably 130 yard 56 degree
into the car park.
Straight into the car.
No.
Right.
Hit your car.
My car.
Hit his car. Lucky enough, McCluskey's
Dad was in the car park.
Was in the car park and just picked up and said, "Someone have a ball here." And he was like, "Oh, James, how's it going?" And Greg's standing there.
Where does it go?
So this is what happened, right? Like so he hits the ball. I'm like going, "Oh, he's too big." Oh, and all you hear is, but you're waiting for the next bounce. Is it going into the windscreen or whatever, right? And it goes. And next we all kind of looked at each other and went, look, and I actually said, lads, we need to go as a group.
Yeah,
we actually need to go up as a group and apologise to whoever's car it was. It was fucking my car.
Well, Greg would have gone up because he'd want the golf ball back.
Oh, I have never seen a shot like it before. A thin.
And can I ask you before we finish up? Would you recommend professional rugby as a career? With the way I obviously. Things are changing all the time and stuff like that, but would you recommend it? Now, I understand you're both playing, so yes, I love it, Ulster the best team, but if you have like a 3 or 4 year old son, would you be a bit like, the way sometimes you go, oh, I'm a boxer, I don't want my kid to be a boxer because it's fucking, like, would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think with that though, like, it wasn't like my dad said, look, Ian, I think you should be a professional rugby player. I wanted to be a professional rugby player, and he facilitated and guided me towards it, and allowed me to kind of follow my dreams. But if I wanted to be a tennis player or a golfer or a GAA player, he would have facilitated me with that. You can definitely guide your kids, what school you send them to, what clubs you have them joining. But ultimately, like, if their friends are rugby players and they want to be part of that conversation, they're going to play rugby. What I'd personally like to see would be the game getting safer. We've made some good strides in the last few years. You can see the tackle height trying to come down, trying to be safer with players in the air. But there's definitely other rules that I'd like to see brought in that's going to continue to make the game safer. Like stuff like double tackles. You still see. A personal gripe of mine is that the tackler is solely responsible for high shots. I'd like to see the ball carrier having some sort of responsibility, that we see these reckless carries being ruled out of the game, because you can't have me going to tackle James and James seeing it as an opportunity to hit his head off my shoulder.
Yeah, so, what you mean.
Or I'm lifting him up in the air and he's trying to land on his head. Stuff like that does no one any favours.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely an onus on the players, but there is obviously rule changes that can be made from the top down. There's no getting away from it. It is a dangerous game to play. But the relationships...
You've had hits in your time.
Yeah, I've had plenty of injuries. I've been very lucky, but it is a dangerous game to play, but it is seriously enjoyable, and the relationships you build are amazing through it.
I would definitely like, if I had a son or a daughter, I'd love to push in that direction, because even me, like, you obviously wouldn't know me when I was 14, 15. I was a cocky like, if you think I'm in any way arrogant or cocky now, I was a piece of shit back then, like, and from how far I've come, how much I've changed through different coaches' interactions, different experiences and stuff, to where I kind of am now. I'm like a completely different person.
And why was that beat out of you, taught out of you? Or were you like, I can't be like this because I'm getting battered here? Or,
no, it was like the whole way through school. It was just like constantly like being one of the best in the team the whole way through school, and then I came out of school expecting to be the same, going into like the Ulster Academy and stuff. When you get into the academy and you're getting on like that, then some of the senior players are just like, who the fuck's this kid think he is? And then you like, I like Treads. I remember like Treads, Kaner and stuff didn't like me when I first came into the squad, and I ended up being groomsman at Treads' wedding and stuff there. So like, things changed, but like, that's how far I've came from when I was 18 to 24. Like, completely different person. So I think it shapes you that way, and I'm sure you would agree.
Absolutely.
Like, it just makes you so much tougher in every aspect of life, I think.
Well, I've said this before, rugby players are more cracked than football or soccer players.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of soccer players, and I tell you something, I'd pick a rugby player over any day. I feel they're a lot more grounded. You can have a chat with them. Fucking soccer players turning up with fucking shoes and no socks on, and a little wash bag under the bag, like in a fucking big fancy fucking car. Like, you played fucking 8 minutes for Leeds United once, you fucking dick. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my nephew's just signed for Cork City Academy, right? Footballer, he's goalkeeper. And I said, and I'm warning him, like, I'm like, if if you become one of these fuckers,
You get one of those wash bags.
like, if I see you with a fucking wash bag and earphones and you're going in and it's sliders with the white socks on and you're going to fucking play in the under 15 reserve game against Shamrock Rovers and you think you're Johnny Big Balls, do you know what I mean? Like none of this shit. Rugby players I just find are they're just sounder. They're sounder because like it's the physicality of the game. It's fucking brutal.
You get humbled very quickly.
Like when you guys, can I ask you before we finish up? Was there a game that you played in where you against an opposition, not like the best player you played against? You know that's very subjective, but when you're getting tackled and you're in the heat of rucks and you're in the breakdown and you're doing all this and you're thinking, this is fucking ferocious and this is on another level and I haven't experienced anything like this. Any game that you can think of where you're like, oh Jesus Christ, like this is. Like of all the games I've played, of all the Leinster matches, all the games with Bristol and Bordeaux, whatever, this is just fucking intense. Like
I remember we toured Argentina the year before the World Cup, and like call a spade a spade. It wasn't the most difficult of tours. Like we beat them pretty handily over there, you know, by maybe 20, 25 points in each game. They were tough enough games, but nothing too challenging. And it did, you know, speaking personally, it probably was the worst thing that could have happened to me in the sense that leading into the quarterfinal of the World Cup in 2015, not that I didn't respect them, I did. I knew it was going to be a tough game, but the tidal wave that hit us in the first 15, 20 minutes, I have never felt power like it.
Really?
And it was like I was playing against a different team. You know, it was just crazy, the speed and how, I don't know, aligned they were and their speed onto the ball, and it was just, I felt like I was in a washing machine is the only way to describe it. I was just being thrashed around. It was pound after pound. Now look, they couldn't keep it up and we gradually got ourselves back into the game, but ultimately that head start they got, we couldn't peg them back.
what's half time like there?
Half time we'd slowly got ourselves into a foothold of the game, but when you go that far down, like, you know, you're 3 tries down, you've got yourselves back into it. One more mistake, if they score one more try, you're fairly done. You know. So
but in the dressing room, what's the key messages there from the leadership group there and the management in half time of that game? Because that is an unexpected result at half time.
Yeah, look, it is. You're looking around in the wider people's eyes, and you're looking for probably 1 or 2 answers. You know, you don't want everyone chipping in because that's no use to you. You know, you still have your core game plan from before the game. You know, obviously the head coach is going to say a couple of words, but you want your leader stepping up and going, right, I've got one thing to say, I want everyone to listen to it and I want everyone to execute on it. Because if there's 15 things thrown in the hat, they're not worth anything. Yeah. Whereas 1 or 2 powerfully delivered comments where you get everyone on board, that's when those halftime talks really work.
So Argentina World Cup quarter-final.
Yeah, that was
unbelievable.
Yeah, one that I probably wasn't expecting as much, and looking back should have, because at the end of the day it's a quarter-final of a World Cup. You know?
What about you, James? Because obviously, you know, I've seen you play like live, and I've obviously watched both of you, seen both of you just play live and stuff like that. There must be a time when you're like, what the hell? Munster, wasn't it? It was Munster. It's all the Munster games, isn't it?
My first cap was Munster away, which was a 64-7
Being a
loss.
Munster man, it's always the Munster
That was
games.
my first cap, a 64-7 loss away to Munster.
And you deserved it.
Yeah.
And you deserved to lose.
I saw it.
Worse. You were fucking useless.
Rugby.
You were fucking useless, James.
I had a pretty rough start. So I think I had maybe like 14 caps and 2 surgeries. So I had like very inconsistent game time. And then I remember COVID happened, and we had the Pro 14 it was in, and then we went into that. We had finished last year's Champions Cup. We played Toulouse away, and that was the game where we got lost. We lost 36-5 away.
No crowds.
No, they had a full stadium, but we hadn't been playing in a full crowd.
Right.
Our defence coach had this defence tactic because they run the same move off a line out basically every time they hit up. It was called Butcher. So I would start at 13 and I would basically shoot as hard as I could and just hit their 12. But their 12, I remember looking them up and being like, this guy Peter Aki, you know who he is? He's playing for Tonga, isn't he?
Yeah, he's played for Connacht for a year or two.
He's playing for Tonga in this World Cup and stuff. Looked him up.
He's granite for his breakfast.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, right.
Bro, I looked up his stats. It was like 6 foot, 97 kg. Right, that's not too bad. This guy, I reckon, 6'2", 108 minimum. Yeah. I shot and hit him full pelt and went flying back. Right? and then I remember on the ground going,
I need some CBD oil.
He couldn't find his arm.
I said, I've dislocated my shoulder, and I looked around, my arm was stuck behind my back, and I was like,
he was literally looking on the ground for his arm.
I couldn't find my arm, it was stuck behind my back, but it wasn't dislocated, it was just my nerves. And then Billy Burns goes off, and we had only 2 backs in the bench, so I had to play the whole game. Absolutely toasted, and they were unbelievable. I think they won that year, didn't they? Obviously they won.
Yeah.
And did you, when you came into the dressing room that night, you were like going, well, I've never had that before.
Never had that. It was very humbling.
Was it?
Very humbling. My
Amazing.
God, yeah.
Right, finally, lads, World Cup predictions. What are you thinking?
England to get beaten by Fiji, we'll get that one.
Just happened. What do you think? Like, it must be. Are you excited about it?
Yeah,
I
think this is the first time in my head I'm like, Ireland could 100% win it.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely. And it's not hope. We've backed it up.
Yep,
beaten everyone over the last couple of years.
It's very exciting, isn't it?
It really is.
This country produces.
If we perform to our ability, we win.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I don't even think we need a bit of luck.
Yeah.
You know.
So you genuinely think we do what we can, and there'll be a few bumps along the road, I imagine, with a few injuries and stuff like that. But if we stick to what we can do, you genuinely believe we can do it.
I think if we play in this World Cup the way we've played the past two like Autumn Nations and Six Nations, there'll be no doubt they'll win.
Do you know what? It's great to hear that, actually. It's really good.
No doubt.
Because if you actually sat here and you were like, oh, you'll probably lose to Tonga, and then like 4 of your mates are playing against Tonga, like, do you know what I mean? A bit shit going back into the dressing room, and then a couple of weeks from the comeback. Well, how'd you get on in how'd you get on in France? You're on holiday? Cork and the North, ladies and gentlemen, listen, big thanks to Ian Madigan and James Hume for popping into the podcast this week. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, lads, and thanks for coming in and making the effort. I do appreciate it, because obviously, I'm a comedian, and this might be a little bit different, but like, hopefully we might get a game of golf as well.
Yeah,
coming up soon. We've got a few. I played today in a longest drive. Did I mention it?
Yeah, I think you did.
I mentioned it. Did I mention that?
Balmoral, how'd you find it?
Flat.
Yeah.
I play out by Clandyboy, over in Clandyboy, which you played for the first time. You enjoyed it?
Lovely course, yeah.
I'm playing Portmarnock on Wednesday.
Oh, lovely.
I've played it before, and I got Port Stewart the week after.
Port Stewart's class.
Port Stewart's possible.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've done Port Rush a couple of times and Royal County Down. Although I'd love to get back out and Royal County Down, if anyone knows anyone that could get me out. Do you know what? Would you like a 4-ball? There's a member of Royal County Down that watches this podcast, and you would like a 4-ball with one of the world's best stand-up comedians, right, and 2 guys that play sport. Let us know. Do you know what it is? I am a failed rugby player. I went to Christians, so Donegal was a year ahead of me. Tomas Leary was a year below me. Loads of lads in my school played rugby. Frank Murphy was sat next to Frank and Matt's, right? Frank's now the referee. Obviously, he went and played for Leicester. Leicester Tigers, then up to Connacht. He's now the referee. I don't know if he's made the World Cup this year. I think he was just on the outskirts.
I'm not sure.
I think he was just on the outskirts.
Very close. Anyway.
Yeah. So I'm a failed rugby player in a comedian's body. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Cork and North, thanks so much. Listen, I'll put all James and Ian's links and stuff like that. Please do, if you can, go out and support Ulster Rugby. Also a big go and support Ireland in the Rugby World Cup, and also sign up to the Patreon. I'm blue in the face from telling you, like I'm not being like, it's borderline bullying now that you're getting 4 hours of free content every week. You get me on the radio as well, 6 to 10, and that's free. Right, that's 16 hours a week plus 4 in the pod. I'm giving you half my life. And you're going, oh, he's not worth a coffee. Yeah? Well, see, who's going to have a good Christmas this year? Anyway, and if I don't see you, have a great Christmas. Subscribe. Live show coming up again later in the year. You never know, might have some special guests at the live show. The last 2 live shows sold out. Might be great. Might have some special guests if they can get me Ian Henderson's number. That would be great. Hendo. On that note, cheers.